Wherever you are, it's likely the temperatures have been higher than usual. Chinese farmers struggle as scorching drought wilts crops. British-Belgian teen has become the youngest person to fly solo around the world, and the UK might be facing legal or political action from the EU for dumping of sewage in the Channel and Sea. But that's only the top of the iceberg today. Settle in, we've got lots to talk about. First up, Chinese farmers struggle as scorching droughts wilts crops. Gan Bingdong's greenhouse in the southwest of China is supposed to be in full bloom right about now. Hundreds of persimmon trees should have been loaded with yellow fruit. Instead, they're wilting in the unforgiving, scorching sun. His surviving eggplants are no bigger than strawberries. Gan's farm lies south of the industrial metropolis of Chongqing and has lost half of his crops already in the heat that reached temperatures as high as 41 degrees Celsius, which is about 106 Fahrenheit. The resulting drought has shrunk the giant Yangtze River, wilting crops all over central China. Farmers are forced to pull groundwater, but there are no facilities installed that can handle the constant watering that the crops so desperately need in these dangerous heat waves. Local authorities were ordered to use all available water sources to supply households and livestock. Biggest impact has been taken by Sichuan, where factories had to shut down and offices and malls were told to turn off the AC after reservoirs to generate hydropower fell to half of their normal levels. 80% of the 94 million people living in the province rely on hydropower dams. Meanwhile, other areas of China have been hit by devastating flash floods. In the northwestern province of Qinghai, the flooding left 8 missing and killed at least 23 people. 1,500 people were forced out of their homes to escape the floods. Next, a British-Belgian teenager becomes the youngest person to fly solo around the world. A teenage pilot with big goals and the perseverance to reach them. Mac Rutherford, who holds both British and Belgian nationality and has lived most of his life in Belgium, has become the youngest person to fly solo around the world in a small aircraft at 17. Rutherford started his 5-month journey across 52 countries on the 23rd of March 2022. Setting off from the capital of Bulgaria, Sofia, Rutherford encountered the extreme heat in Dubai, encountered sandstorms in Sudan, and spent the night on an uninhabited Pacific island after a scary moment of low altitude. But it was all worth it for the aviator. He now holds 2 Guinness World Records for becoming the youngest person to fly around the world solo, as well as the youngest person to do so in a microlight plane. To carry him through the adventure, Rutherford flew a Shark, which is a high-performance ultralight aircraft that can hold a cruising speed of about 186 miles per hour, which is about 300 kilometers per hour. The previous record holder for flying solo around the world was the British pilot Travis Ludlow, who was 18 and 150 days old when he completed his journey last year. Rutherford comes from 5 generations of aviators, which he explains on his website, where he also described his great-great-grandmother as being one of the first South African women that learned how to fly, following French appeal to EU over UK discharges of waste. 3 Euro MPs claim the UK is threatening health and marine life on the French coast by allowing raw sewage to be dumped in the Channel and North Sea. The 3 MPs are all part of French President Emmanuel Macron's pro-EU En Marche party. Pierre Carleskind is one of them, and he chairs the European Parliament's Fisheries Committee. In a letter, the 3 MPs lay out how the United Kingdom has neglected its environmental commitments since its departure from the European Union. They call for legal and political action from the European Commission. A UK government spokesman has responded to the allegations with the remark that they are simply not true, but pollution warnings have been issued for almost 50 beaches in England and Wales, which seem to have gotten even worse after heavy rain caused sewage outflow to be diverted into rivers and the sea. Most of the UK has a combined sewage system, which carries both wastewater from toilets as well as rainwater through the same pipes to sewage treatment plants. With the risk of flooding increased due to the hot weather, as water has a much harder time to sink into the ground, things could get very messy, and more sewage waste dumped into our sea. The consequences could be felt all the way in France if nothing is done on short notice to reduce the dumping of sewage waste and harm marine diversity, fishing, and shellfish farming. Hold up, did you know that Vice World News now has a Twitch channel as well? Singapore is making history with the repeal of the notorious 377A law, and someone in Portugal found a huge skeleton of a dinosaur in his backyard. Let's get back to it and bring you up to speed on more world news. Next, Vice World News has launched a Twitch channel. Vice has realized it's time to keep the pace with time and started a Twitch channel. Vice Media expanded its brand to include Vice World News in in 2020 and has now made the step to start offering consumers a live experience where they will find their youngest, most connected generation of viewers. Senior Vice President of Global News and Global Editor-in-Chief said in a statement that it's only a natural fit to take their global reporting to Twitch, as their young audience doesn't always access news in a traditional way. So now you can also get your dose of Vice World News from Twitch as well. The new news channel will also be streaming a live show twice a week, the first of which premiered on August 23, 2022. Co-hosting the show, we have Samir Ferdowski and Dexter Thomas. Vice has big plans for the new show. The show promises to give us a behind-the-scenes look at how some of our famous on-the-ground journalism and fearless conflict reporting comes together, according to Vice. The show will also feature segments where the hosts talk to the producers and correspondents behind some of the most impactful and memorable stories, like the story of Sarush Alvi in 2011, who reported on Pakistan's illegal arms market, and Seb Walker's story of his trip to Syria to search for the 2 children who were held hostage by ISIS. And now, Singapore is putting an end to 377A. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong made the historical announcement on national TV, years after heated debate, that Singapore will repeal a law that bans gay sex. The notorious 377A law was inherited by Singapore from the British Empire, and they chose to retain it after independence in 1965. Though the city-state is known for its conservative values, recent years have seen an increase in the number of people who have called the colonial-era 377A law to be abolished. The law technically only incriminates sex between men, but it is effectively seen as a ban on homosexuality. The government previously chose to try and appease both sides of the conversation by keeping 377A, but promised not to follow through on it. But it seems that minds were changed. Mr. Lee said that they believe this is the right thing to do, and it's something most Singaporeans of today would agree with. Now, gay people will be better accepted, said Mr. Lee. And on top of that, the country is more in line with the current social mores, adding that he hopes that this will offer some relief to gay Singaporeans. Though the LGBT community of Singapore called it a hard-won victory and a triumph of love over fear, there are some concerns about another announcement that was made in the same speech. The government promises to ensure better legal protection for the definition of marriage, which would make it much harder for gay marriage to be legalized in the future. Following, the skeleton of a huge dinosaur found in a man's backyard in Portugal. While the landowner of a plot of land in Portugal was doing some construction work on his property in 2017, he found some things in the soil that did not look quite like your average dirt. And he was right. The skeleton of an 82-foot-long dinosaur has been found in his backyard. Paleontologists from Portugal and Spain are now working on the site, which is located in the city of Pombal. It's believed that the remains are of the biggest sauropod dinosaur that's ever been found in the whole of Europe. Sauropods are huge, four-legged plant-eating dinosaurs. In recent weeks, they have unearthed the vertebrae and ribs of a possible Brachiosaurus sauropod, or possibly a Brachiosaurus, which would have stood about 39 feet high, 12 meters, and would have been about 82 feet, 25 meters long. It's relatively uncommon in the fossil record of dinosaurs from the Portuguese Upper Jurassic, in particular sauropods, and even more so this kind of preservation. And to top it all off, the dinosaur has been found in its original anatomical position. The owner of the place will have to have some patience before he'll get his backyard back, we'd say. That was it for now. Do you think something can be done to combat the damage the heat and drought are causing to Chinese crops? Let us know in the comments what you think, and thanks for watching.